Hello, my name is Joseph Cole. I've been associated with the Ujamaa Place program for almost 2 years, and recently I just had an amazing experience getting to go to Africa on the Journey to Africa 2 Reckoning with Truth tour. I was blessed to be a part of this delegation, getting to meet the Akwamu tribe and being fully immersed in their culture, in their home, and around their people, with the music, the dancing, the conversation. I would say that was really impactful. That felt like the most I'm in Africa feeling that you could ever really experience. To me, it felt like Ghana was more loving, and they really accepted us with open arms. And also, everything seemed really authentic to what I thought West Africa would look like. So when I got to South Africa...
In South Africa, I'm in Cape Town, and they are loving Boys to Men.
The people and the culture was a little bit of a mix between what I thought African culture would be and just, I guess, a little bit of American culture. Like the people you see walking around, they don't really look like what you would think a South African person would look like in terms to an African person, but they more so look like they're from America.
But I welcome you guys with warm hands in South Africa.
And then also the accents are very different, and they range from people speaking English with, I guess, more of a maybe Australian accent, or I don't know what you would call it, to people speaking Portuguese, to people speaking Zulu languages, and just a whole bunch of a variety of African languages. But also the people weren't as caring and loving. I would say that it felt more just like being in America. Like they didn't really care to talk to you or to speak to you, or not as many people were coming up to us either. In Ghana, there was children, adults, everybody seemed like they had their hand out when they were seeing Americans. But in South Africa, there was a lot of homelessness, but not as many people, unless we went to certain places like the market, or if you're walking downtown on the street near a bunch of stores, there really wasn't many people that would come up to you. People were just, I guess, fine being left alone. Also, I would say the architecture of everything was completely different. It seemed like there was more money poured into South Africa, which there was, learning that it was the last country to gain independence. So it's been colonized for the longest. We got to learn about Nelson Mandela, and seeing his house and just seeing the town of Soweto, that also combined with the history of the 15,000 students that protested and then got shot at. That was super impactful to me, because it's something that we see a lot here in America, peaceful protesting turning violent, but to do that to adults protesting for civil rights or whatever that may be, that's something that I've seen so much and so often, to where it almost, unfortunately, it's like oversaturated to me. But when we get to South Africa and we see that these same oppressors are doing this to students who are younger than me, who don't have any, who aren't coming with any violent intentions, it's just a really sad thing to see, especially when you see the pictures of what happened, and then they have the story of what happened in the location that it happened in. That was really impactful, because it really showed me that our oppressor is everywhere, and the same thing that has been happening to us in America has was been happening in Africa. I think also with the history about Mandela, a lot of people really seem to be kind of rude when speaking about him. We learned that a lot of the youth during the time when Mandela was elected didn't really feel as if Mandela did the job he was supposed to. And when meeting locals that were maybe in their 40s or early 50s, a lot of them were saying the exact same thing, that Mandela was a sellout or that he didn't help the country at all. And I could understand where they were coming from, and especially maybe if you hadn't done that much research about how a democracy works. I could feel that, especially with being in a place like South Africa that's so nice, but yet everyone there is still so poor, and everyone has to work their hardest to get just the littlest things. Compared to Ghana, it's not that nice, and everyone is still poor, but everyone is happy and in harmony, and you wouldn't really even know that people were poor unless they told you. I feel like the way that I felt when coming back was more so just really thankful and grateful for everything that we have here in America, but also more aware of the oppression that is going on all across the globe. It's not only here in America, and we don't really get to see through the media of what our brothers and sisters in Africa have to experience. Learning that they're just as colonized in South Africa as we are in America was a huge eye-opener. Reckoning with truth, to me, I would say feels like educating. It feels like having tough conversations. I would say it feels like going out of your way to start a conversation with someone who may not have any knowledge on it, or with someone who may not even want to converse about it. Reckoning with truth really is just bringing about the truth of the outcomes of slavery and how people are still affected right now, how people were affected hundreds of years ago, last year, and how people will be affected today and tomorrow. Really, this whole trip about learning this history of why we were there and who we were seeing and the places we were going has really just encouraged me to be even more adamant about talking about the outcomes of slavery and just the outcomes of oppression and current oppression today. It's something that we haven't seen any change in, really, because even though we were emancipated or we were free, we're still going through the same systematic situations and problems that people have been facing for years. So just being able to talk about those problems and speak out on the situation, to me, that's reckoning with the truth. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that, so that's where it comes in. I would say the youth that are in Africa, in both countries, there's a fire that's in them that's about fighting for liberation and to be truly free. So I would say having that same fire and wanting to pursue that same fight for freedom in America is just as important in Africa. Activism and community work is very important to get everybody on the same page and to truly unify. So that's first, is to at least try to get into community and have these conversations with people, and at least see where you can help out or see where you best fit to continue this fight. The youth in Africa definitely are very hardworking, but all in all, they're very knowledgeable. They grew up with a different education system, so some of these things they might have learned in the home, but learning about why colonialism has happened to us and how it happened is something that's very normal for the youth in Africa. But here, it's a very skewed story, so you have to really go out of your way to get that history and to get that education. So I would say first, by doing that, Sankofa, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So I would say definitely by first learning about our history. And then keeping the fight alive is just as simple as having that fire, but you have to want to have that fire. If it doesn't apply to you in your everyday life, it might not even interest you. Like, I was having a few conversations with some of the locals, and they were saying, like, some people don't really want to, for example, some people don't want another Black Panther Party, or they don't want another activism group in America. Why? Because people are comfortable and people have families and people have a lot to lose. And that might be the case for the older population, but for youth, we're the ones that have to continue this fight if we want to truly get what we want. So just knowing that no one's going to do it for us and we're going to have to do it ourselves if we want to truly see change is really the only way that we're going to have to, that we can keep this fight going. So fighting for liberation and wanting to unify.
Oh yeah, wanango yanmo akotonko apo yenio ebinu ya fiem.